how are you? How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Lincoln sent me their zone map and resolution,
Yeah.
but they didn't send me any descriptions or anything like that. Do I need that for our files, do you
Any
think?
description?
Like the minority numbers and all of that sort of stuff, and like the letter from
Well,
you?
they should have.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why in the world they wrote it that way, but yeah, they're supposed to send you the breakdowns, and
Well, that's what
for some reason, as if it's relevant.
Well, that's what I thought, and they didn't send it, so I may reach out to them, but if they don't, I may just reach out to you to get it from you. Jim,
Yeah,
would you like a bowl of water?
Sure.
All right, Jim, would you like one?
I've got a little bit left, but yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, all right, I'll be right back.
Do we, supposed to lay some of these out over here?
Well, it's fine with me. I don't need to see them. Yeah. How you doing, Tom?
Oh, got a pickle in my throat all of a sudden, can't stop.
Uh-oh.
We have to ask you a battery of questions now, you know. Have you been around anybody in the last 160 days that has COVID symptoms?
I am fully vaccinated with a booster.
Well, you know that people are getting it anyway.
See.
What all you got here? You got all
It's everything Jennifer ordered. So, that's 7 stuff on top and then 2's on the top.
Okay.
Revised. And that 7 is, the 6R revised. And we did the best we could with the ranges on 7.
These ranges, you tried to get into these
We
ranges?
tried to.
What keeps us from getting in there?
Well, when we, the shape of the blocks and the populations in the blocks, you know, when we take this thing and
An example of that, like for instance,
Where do you want me? Right next.
10, the range was,
Oh,
we got
There
closer,
were-
but we're still, I don't know, almost
things
200.
on the printer I needed to bring too. Thank you. Do you know where?
well, we tried to do a couple of things. We tried to stay
In that little tab with the,
where the school
Here?
districts.
Yep.
Those are permanent lines that aren't going anywhere.
yeah.
And if we jump them over here, we're gonna create a situation where when they do the ballots, that ballot's gonna be different than any other, so it's gonna have to be a separate precinct.
So there's a school district
Possible to grab your
factor that
Yes,
you kept.
Yes, that's a permanent
I'm good, how are you?
boundary line that isn't gonna go anywhere, and it
I got it
will
rusting all over the
be
county.
a
Yeah,
precinct
probably.
line, or any getting around it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with city limit line. We know that city limit line is gonna be a precinct line where we've got.
Where's the city limit line? I'm trying to figure this out. Where's the city limit line? Here. Is that it?
Out there. We had to go that direction. We had to go on out. This is the city limit line right here, yes, sir.
Yeah.
All this up here?
Right. That's the city
We-
limit line between Fayetteville and Springdale?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
'Cause I was
And this is,
looking-
and this is the Johnson city limit line. So we got all of Johnson in,
Okay, so this then, Matt, what does 2 look like? There was one that I was looking at that jotted over there. So that crosses the city limit line there,
Yep.
doesn't it?
yes.
Okay.
And, yeah, it crossed the city limit line, and it's all a matter of,
So so what you're telling me is that these lines, this line is the city limit line between Fayetteville and Springdale.
yes, sir.
So where's Lake
This
Fayetteville now?
line is the city limit line between, Fayetteville and Johnson. And so is this.
Yes.
All the way
believe it is over here, yes. It certainly is here, and it is
Now,
up here.
what is this green line?
That is a, school district boundary line, yes.
So we are going down the middle of a school district here.
Mm-hmm, yep, yep.
School
But
district.
we've got a good boundary line in the highway.
Yeah.
Easy for them to pull, voter registration stuff and,
So that is an acceptable
do the
split
assignments.
there.
yes.
So what you're
We
saying.
just did where we could.
Right.
And
This helps me a lot, because
and the same thing, this map's here better for me anyway, because we've adjusted to both.
what do you mean this map?
Well, this one
different
has,
from this?
well, not as far as the districts go,
Okay,
but it shows the school district boundaries
and the precinct.
and the, that one's just school district boundaries, the green line. This one has the city limits. It has the school district boundaries, it's got the house and the senate. So you see some places we might have adjusted over
That's a pretty good
to
deal.
a senate line
Yeah.
or a house line.
Hello.
Or whatever line we know is gonna be
It has been a day,
a.
and it's not half over, so, oh my goodness. I'm good, how are y'all? Good.
So we just had to take the opportunity, if close there, one's close, and gonna keep us within the range.
Yeah.
But I think on this one, I think it came 7 districts within your range. Previously, I think it was 4.
Yeah.
Are you
And then a
still
couple-
talking about
and
those numbers?
Yeah,
a couple of them
I'll
are-
get an explanation. That's
And
all
a
I
couple
need.
of them are real close.
Oh, I had something burned off.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
Well,
good.
hopefully something you didn't want.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, hey, sorry.
No, you're fine, I'm seeing if I was
You're
gonna.
fine.
Mess again? Yes.
I don't know where they've got you.
I was gonna look at the map.
Oh, okay.
I think
Well,
I
let me
had
get
2
out of the way.
copies of the map, so I'm gonna be able to bring a copy over there. Oh, okay. Here's 2 copies of each.
Okay, this is 7, okay, yeah. Let me separate these out real quick so I can.
You know what you asked for, so I'll leave
Yep,
it with
you
you.
did.
I got that.
I'm right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, all right.
I'm gonna go back to my place.
Under your what?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Good.
Hi,
Did I take your
Debbie,
seat?
if you'll take this map and kind of, if we can.
This one?
This one,
Yeah.
And we can kind of, Evelyn, you may have to
I
scoot down a little bit.
think we got the short sticks on these.
Where am I putting it?
Over there so they can see the map.
Comfortable?
You see it's a little low, mine seems a little low.
Can we get that one around?
No, but I have one of those, mocha frappuccinos from Starbucks. You want one of those?
Ooh.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We got a skirt up in the office.
No, because
That actually sounds pretty good.
But I, there's one right up there.
Oh, there. Okay, that's good.
Did you get what you need? Debbie, don't leave. Take that one over there too.
Sit there.
So I am just lacking, Greenville, I'm just lacking Greenland. Debbie,
One more.
we'll have to, Beth, can we look at that after, try and figure that out?
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Because Jeff may be the person you want to ask that, because he's gonna be more familiar with the map.
Let me take that.
Take that one. Yeah, okay.
You got
Yeah, and that gives them a 2 and a 7.
That it?
Yeah, I think so.
When you were looking at 2, you said, out here's the city limit line, and you followed this line here, we either chose, we could've gone a little farther to the east to hit the city limit line, or we could've stayed back and stayed in the school district line. And the problem is the configuration of the blocks. That one area between where the line was and on to the east, there's like 940 people in that one area.
Yeah.
And it just blows everything up.
Wow.
So we.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Like it.
Okay, it is time for this meeting to be called to order. Got everybody here? We'll start out with the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Yeah, they look
We just have one?
Yes.
Okay,
No problem.
all right. The minutes are adopted as presented. Next is the review of JP District map. Jennifer, I give the floor to you.
Okay, and I'll probably yield it to Jeff.
Send it right back to you.
Nobody knows what we're doing.
So, we have, at the last meeting, the commission narrowed the map selections down to 2 and 7. So Jeff has presented us with the revisions made on 2 and 7, which included, where possible, trying to meet some city boundaries that we know won't change.
Yeah.
School district lines, which we know won't change, House and Senate lines, maybe where possible, and then, on 7, there were a couple of different requests for that map, just cleaning up just a couple of little areas in, I think, 5 and 9, the same thing on 2 as well, or not 5 and 9, but 6 and 9.
Okay, we're looking at 7 right now?
So that's up to you. So you have loaded on your computers, you have loaded map 2 and also map 7.
Right.
Map 2 is just the JP district map with just the lines. So that way you can just see what, with no other lines, this is what your JP map will look like. Map 2 or 2D has your city limits, school districts, and Senate and House. And then 2E has everything plus the census voting districts. And 2F has the JP districts and the school district boundaries, which really are the ones that are, there's so many of them. I mean, those are the ones that won't change. And we know since we're gonna have so many splits inside all of those school districts now, kind of meeting some of these school boundaries with our JP lines will help prevent a lot of extra splits in Becky's office, going forward, since we know we have the school zone splits as well that we'll have to accommodate. So the same thing with 7, you have map 7, just plain 7D, E, and F. So I'll let you decide on which map you guys wanna kind of discuss. We have bigger copies as well, and Jeff may touch on more what kind of the changes they've made.
Yeah, I just want to know an overview, like what did you do to each of these 2 versions of the maps since our last meeting? And then can you just kind of walk us through and give us an overview of each one?
I probably can't of each and every change that was made, but,
Which
generally, we took I think we had a print of 6R, or whatever it was last time.
Right.
It's retitled 7, same thing. And then we, took the map, the one I used was the one that had the school district boundaries on there, the outer boundaries of the school districts, not the zones, but the outer boundaries, the permanent lines that aren't going anywhere, and that we think will, if you go to the one-to-one system, those are gonna be precinct lines, no question about it. So those aren't going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We also, so we made adjustments to those, which was pretty much made on the 6R one before. We tried to keep cities whole.
Mhm.
Okay.
And if you look at, Prairie Grove, and Goshen, and some of the others, we tried to do that on both of the maps that we tried to revise.
Okay.
On the bigger maps, you can see the darker background, you can actually see the city limit, or the city, and it's a darker color, like in the purple, I think, on those maps, on the big ones. We also adjusted to House and Senate lines, where, we thought it was more important to hit the school district boundary than the House and Senate line. Now, I'll say this, and I mentioned previously that we thought there were gonna be some technical corrections to the House and the Senate lines when the State Board of Enforcement meets. And, for them, and we, I actually went in Saturday and we made some comments and sent them in about some, for examples, on, one of those plans, it had showed a House and Senate line. They used the same boundary line, but they came up a road and it crossed the, western boundary, I think, of the Prairie Grove School District.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
5 times.
Oh, yeah.
And it would have created a situation where you had to set 6 precincts up.
Right.
So I pointed out about a half a dozen of those, which would probably save you from doing 15 or 16 new precincts. And I sent those in as examples to the state that, you know, if you follow these known, permanent boundary lines, not just follow the House, follow the Senate combined where they have the opportunity, but those should also follow something we know is permanent, gonna be there, like the school district boundary. So we adjusted to the school district boundary. We made some of the adjustments to the House and Senate lines, House and or Senate lines. We made some changes to try to follow, city limits where they're contiguous between 2 cities, like the area that was discussed about, Springdale and Johnson and Fayetteville, and we tried to do that on there. And we tried to, you know, both of the plans stay within the overall range. On 7, we tried to come as close as we could, while still maintaining those overall principles of following these district lines, school district lines and such, and to try to hit those ranges. The 6R, I think it had 4 or 5 that were within the ranges that Jim had mentioned, and I think there's 7 of them that do now. And there's another 2 or 3 others that are just, you know, 40, 50, 60 people off.
From Jim's ranges, numbers?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, the sub-ranges, so to speak, that were discussed. So that's, generally what we tried to do. And like with that Prairie Grove area down there, you know, we followed what we thought the House and the Senate line would be if they made the sensible changes that were pointed out to them.
Yeah.
So,
Whether
in
or
that
not they
instance
will.
down there, we followed the
Yeah.
school district line instead of House and Senate line. It's the same general area, but, you know, choose one or the other, and if they make the change they should make, then yours will be in anticipation, yours won't have to change.
But if they don't make it, we will have to change it.
We won't.
We won't, we'll just deal with it.
Well, we would have to deal with it either way.
Yeah.
Our best bet is to stick with the school district line, because we know that's not changing. So, fingers crossed, they make the adjustment. If they don't, we're stuck.
We're stuck.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we would have been stuck either way.
Right.
Yeah.
What are, without us having to try to dig through it, Jeff, what are the maybe 4, 5, or 6 major differences between these 2 maps that we're looking at?
Well, One of them, tried to follow, like the city limit lines, I know, on the east side, that Becky was concerned about. I think 2 follows those. You see some weird shapes out there, but those are city limit lines.
Yeah. Is that what that squiggle up and down
Yeah,
is?
out on the
Yeah.
east side,
I-
yes.
I
In
don't like
12,
that at all. Yeah.
In 12,
Yeah.
that's what that is, that follows the city limit line.
Okay.
So 2 is sensitive to that, particularly on the east side. 7, we did between the cities.
Oh, yeah.
We couldn't do both and stay within the population range. So like 9 goes on out to the east, in 7, and 2 it goes up to about the city limit, or 7 goes up to the city limit.
It goes
North. And as I say, we also made adjustments there, for Johnson. You mentioned, previously about trying to follow the Fayetteville Johnson line. Well, we did the same thing with the Springdale and Johnson line. So that change occurred as well.
So explain what you're saying there is that where, Springdale touches Johnson, where Springdale touches Fayetteville, and where Fayetteville, touches, Johnson, those lines, those city limit lines that probably aren't gonna move are contained within, districts, within JP districts. Does that make sense?
On Plan 7.
Plan 7.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm not absolutely certain about that, dividing line between them from the east to the west, but that is the highway, and that's a good line. I'm not exactly certain if that, I think that's a city limit line.
Okay.
Is there,
That's on one of the maps, the city limit lines themselves are.
how difficult would it be? What I don't like right now, we talked about city limits and between Springdale and Fayetteville, and that seems to be, almost impossible. But, I'm looking at 9, the area between 9 and 6, and what if we were, how difficult would it be to, because you got all these little, just in and out on that. Can you see where I'm talking?
Are you on map 7?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm on map 7. I just have the JP district map, I think. I don't have the boundaries for the, and maybe that's why.
All that offset stuff is the city limit line.
If you look on 7D, it's gonna, yeah,
Okay.
7D will show you all the different lines.
Okay. I was basically trying to match it up with the school board lines, or, excuse me, the school district lines. But,
This one's got all of them on it.
okay. I'm just, okay, I see. The red line is, house, at the house.
The red, I believe, is the,
Yeah, the heavy red line is the Senate, and then the line, the dotted,
blue line's the house and the green line's the
Okay,
school
what's the
district.
dotted red
is the
line?
city.
Oh, okay.
The dotted is the city.
So you would not be able, well, you would not be able to straighten that out by, say, making the line all the way across Ivy and then down? Or all the way, is that Howard Anderson or something?
Howard Anderson.
Those are the ones that seem to be,
It's an odd
Odd,
shape,
yeah.
odd shape, but there's an explanation for that.
okay, so that's where,
Yeah, if you see, the city limit line is laid on top of that Senate line, and that's how the city limit goes.
so there's a part that is square under where it says Howard Anderson, and that should actually go with 6. What city is that in?
Well, that's back where you were. There's see the little square right here?
Right under where it says Howard Anderson.
One's in 6, and the one right west of it's in 9.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good question. If you saw the city limits out there, you would see that orange square is in Fayetteville,
Okay.
and the other one, immediately to the east, is in Springdale. And it's only contiguous to Springdale at a straight northeast angle.
Huh.
That's the only part of Springdale that touches that. Yeah, we turned the layers of Springdale city limits on
Yeah.
before we made that decision.
Uh-huh.
Because I had the same question you did, Christina. We turned the city limits on, and that area out there right now is, there's an unincorporated island out there.
Oh, there is?
Pretty good sized one. And that's pending annexation by the city of Springdale.
Oh, okay. How long has it been pending?
I think they introduced it last week.
Oh, okay, so it's really quite fresh.
It's
Okay.
an unincorporated island, that Springdale has the most,
Interesting.
linear feet of frontage on that island.
Oh,
So they're
okay.
entitled by law to be able to annex it by ordinance.
Okay.
So hopefully, when they annex it, they'll turn around and part of it's in Fayetteville's water service area, part of most of it's in Springdale.
Yeah,
So
okay.
if they're friends, they'll come back and they'll follow that water service area and give
Yeah.
part of that to Fayetteville, and then the part north and back stays in Springdale. So that might clean things up there, but it's real confusing.
Wow, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's what, I'm looking at these little squiggly deals in various places, and it's just like, man, if you could clean those up, it would be so much simpler.
But when you do that, though,
Yeah,
you-
cleaner, thank you.
you may make the line straight, but
Right.
then you create unique little precincts.
Right.
Because then that 6th area becomes, instead of it being a precinct that can all be in Springdale, that then becomes a precinct that is, part of 9, but it's in Springdale, you know, so
Yeah.
there's a trade-off when you do that,
Right.
to create those small precincts.
And what we've tried to do is exactly what you're talking about.
Right, simplify it.
But to, not to create the straight lines, but to create as few a precincts as possible.
Right,
And it creates some odd lines, just in getting
Sure
around.
does.
But it's not as many, odd precincts as you would otherwise have.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that really has been my concern all along, based on what we have here. And, I don't know how you can improve it anymore, but you've obviously looked down that road.
Ask cities to make straight lines instead.
There you go. Yes.
Annex.
Yeah, annex and only squares.
When you
Annex it is
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
I like the way
Point A
you
to point
think,
B.
Jim.
Yep.
Okay, and so that would actually be, I'm looking down now at number 12 and, what is it, Greenland, where you have City Lake Road, and, it does not actually follow the whole, school board line there. It stops at the city line. People still
Well,
living out there.
what about
Yeah,
this?
at the bottom of 12, where it goes down in, it looks a little bit like Missouri with a boot heel.
There's a house line that comes up there, and comes up to a point and then back down.
Yeah,
And
Oh, here.
so that is one of the things that we pointed out.
uh-huh, Oh, good.
And what I
Yeah, right.
set up Saturday,
right.
that was one of the situations where if they leave their house line where it is,
Mhm.
that block on down to the city limit line has 0 people in it.
At this point?
At this point.
Yeah.
And if you go below the city limit line
Right,
to the next rectangle down there,
Mhm.
to get to the school district line,
yeah,
that's another block that has 0 people in it.
okay,
Now, so our suggestion to them was, move your house line
to that
down to the
city
school
line.
district
Oh,
line.
school district.
Now, that bottommost island, or I'll call it an island, a rectangle,
Yeah,
that's gonna be there because it's bounded by the school district on 3 sides and the city limits on the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
So it's gonna be a precinct, there ain't anything we can do about it.
yeah.
What they can do something about is move their house line so you end up with
Mhm.
1 precinct with no people in it
Yeah,
instead of 2.
right,
So that is the one you pointed out is one that we pinpointed as well
yeah,
and told them. Now, whether they change it or not, we'll see.
we're at their mercy.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, I defer to you all on what your preference is going forward.
Guess I would wonder, are there any comments, public comments?
Oh,
from
good
anybody?
question.
Have we gotten anything?
Yeah.
I
You know?
received one phone call, public comment, and it was concerning, about not worrying about putting incumbents, you know, in the same district.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, why was that a concern that the election commission had when looking at the maps, just, you know, draw the lines regardless of where the incumbents live? And the second question had to do with, were we looking at where minorities lived and, you know, making sure that we weren't splitting communities up with our JP lines, you know, making sure that we kept, you know, like especially in Springdale, we didn't split a Marshallese community kind of in half with a JP district or, you know, the Hispanic community with JP districts. Really, in the rest of the county, you know, in Fayetteville, the minority communities are kind of spread more out, so it's really kind of difficult to do that. So those were the comments that I did receive. I did explain that, you know, there is certain criteria that we look at in regards to the incumbent, and that's one of the things that we, you know, can use as a criteria for a map. And then
it doesn't have to be the primary one.
right, but it is one that we can use. And then in regards to the populations of the minority communities, wasn't really something, we haven't looked at any minority numbers or any minority information, but, and I can't tell from these maps that we have done that. I mean, like, I felt like, especially if you're keeping Springdale
Right.
kind of all together, even if it's in 2 JP districts, you're achieving that goal. The Marshallese communities lives a little, in a little bit different area, I think, of Springdale than the large Hispanic community. But like, for instance, Fayetteville, the minority community spread out. But if you're keeping cities and communities, which is one of the things for us to look at together, which I feel like some of these maps are doing, then we've not deliberately done that, you know, so.
And the boundary in Springdale, I think the easternmost, I think those boundaries up there are pretty close to what they were previously.
Mhm.
Oh,
Goes down the
okay.
line. So,
On
we
what?
North Springdale.
we didn't really change that north-south line, following the highway between 2 and 6, 4 and 3,
Yeah.
so forth.
Well, given that, do we have a preference on one of these 2?
Do we have a need, I would ask the question, do we feel like we have a need to, compare them using the, comparison sheet that was made up? Or do we, feel comfortable to, select one of these
Is
names?
that this?
No.
No, it's the criterion goals scorecard, is that what you're talking
okay.
about?
Okay, forgive me. I mean, we can do that if you'd like.
I don't know, I'm just
Sure.
asking the question, what do you think? I mean, it looks like we're down, right now, we're down to these two maps.
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm ready to vote for one of them, but I don't wanna, you know.
Sure. I mean, we can talk through these things.
Forever.
Wait, I mean, we can or we can't, you know, I'm not sure how we wanna do it. I guess I'd ask, is there any public comment from anybody else here or online?
I don't think we have that
Or that would be
capability.
even,
There may be people watching, but I don't think we have,
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that set up.
Becky, do you have a
Whoops.
comment or preference?
yeah, Becky, what are your
The other thing that
thoughts?
I noticed that's a big difference also is the city of Goshen. It's in, currently in 15, it's in 7 now. So I don't know how those people feel, but
Oh, you mean moving between,
they're currently in 15, and you're moving the whole entire city into jobs.
into
Five,
five,
yeah.
under map number
7.
7, move 7.
But that's the good part about it, it is the whole city, we're not splitting it.
The problem is, where
Some of that's
the growth was and getting these leveled out, we have to remove some places and put them somewhere else.
how did both of these maps make your job on the map?
I think it's gonna be hard regardless because of the time crunch. I mean, I could spend 4 months working on this and now I'll have like, a month, maybe 2. So it's gonna be difficult.
So the easiest thing for you would be for us to pick one and get it over with so you can start on it.
Well, I can't start anyway.
Not
So
yet,
that's
yeah. Good point. So really, this part of the process is irrelevant to you until that
Yeah, I
Senate thing is done.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think, the least changes that are made, of course, but I know
Right.
following the school district lines is probably
Yeah.
better for the future, for next 10 years.
Yeah.
And because they'll use, hopefully, our precinct lines then, and they will use those.
Yeah, and I know we talked about, because all the school districts now have zones,
Oh, yeah.
instead of doing the splits, do the straight one-to-one precincts. By having a lot of these JP districts follow the school district lines, I think that's gonna make it
Less split.
less splits and easier on us when we proof and when you proof, especially with those new school zones.
Mm. Oh, yeah, that's gonna add an extra.
It's gonna add a lot more precincts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so where, like in the past, if we would have had like Fayetteville 30, which I believe is split, or between Springdale and Fayetteville School District. Now, if that area can all be in one
Mm-hmm.
school district, and JP district, that lessens the split that we currently had.
Yeah, I agree with that. So you can't really do any, prep work until after the election in December.
I can probably do some of the outline, like the Lincoln and, Winslow and Westport, anything that's not in
Yeah.
Senate 7 or in the wards. And, Elkins is in Senate 7, like the whole, this side and up and around. so-
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't really do anything with the school zones
Yeah.
until the election's over because you're gonna be creating new precincts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not making your job any easier, but.
It's not your fault. It's a special election.
Yeah, yeah, wow. They've robbed you of a lot of time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
And
well,
especially because that state senate District 7 now is completely different looking.
Yeah.
It doesn't even retain the same shape that it did,
yeah,
so, yeah.
okay, well, all right, do you wanna go through this list, gentlemen, and, or do you have a favorite that you would just wanna launch into, or how do we wanna go about this?
Well, I would just comment, that, one of the things that obviously I've been focusing on is where these, cities, and I'm talking about kind of the two measures in Johnson, Springdale, Johnson, and Fayetteville, where they touch each other, that those are solid lines that aren't gonna change more than likely. And I wanted to try to get those lines to be also lines, of the, districts, of the JP districts. And the only one of these maps that meets that is 7. 2 doesn't meet that. And so, for me, I would favor 7, and I would be ready to vote on it whenever y'all are ready.
Okay. Your thoughts, Matt?
I think I would say both of these maps are better than some of the other maps that we've looked at. I mean, that is my initial thought, just looking at them. I like map 2 more. It looks, to me, the lines they're more compact. They look more like squares.
Except for those weird places.
Except for a few of the weird places. But when you look at just the eyeball test versus the other one, it just looks cleaner to me, and it maintains more of the existing lines of some of those districts. So you've got the same voters in the same JP's districts, it looks like, based on the map. So it's less confusing to the voters who, you know, the fewer changes we can make with who's representing which voter, I think is an important consideration, because it's hard enough for the voters to know, you know, which JP represents them now. To me, it looks like that maintains more of the core of those districts, continuity of the same representative, and, you know, Becky's gonna have changes either way, but, it looks like there would be fewer changes with some of this, with the eastern line there and some of the existing districts. That's just my view of it, looking at the map, so.
I agree that is the case, and if we don't want to, try to, keep the, congruent lines of the municipalities as part of the, lines of the JP districts, and we don't want to, try to, distribute the voters in such a way that the places where there's will probably be more growth, have more room to accept growth, then, I think, 2, would be an adequate, selection, but, I would still probably prefer 7, even if the lines do look a little different.
These are all factors, right? And those are both good goals. Those are both good factors. I really, you know, am trying to think about the back end largely. Those 3 meetings we had, those errors we found from the last census.
Oh, yeah.
We did not get, you know, good press based off that. And it was confusing to voters, when we changed some of those things. So, I'm thinking about it from that perspective too.
May I make a comment? I'm the public.
Sure.
Okay. Could Mr. Estes explain, I don't understand the importance, and I'm new to this. How come it is so important to have Springdale inside the Springdale city limits and Fayetteville out?
It's one of the 10 factors that we're asked to look at, is keeping, municipalities together, to the extent that we can.
And where did you get those 10 factors? Where did they come from?
They came from
Actually, 9.
the state, I think.
It's from the federal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually
on
from the federal
thing.
census.
More from Jeff pulling it from the case law, pretty much.
Yeah.
Some federal statutes, but.
Yeah, those were redistricting criteria and principles that have been approved by the courts. And it's, you know, providing for the possibility for continuity and representation. That's where the issue about incumbents comes in. That's a relevant factor, courts have said. Communities of interest, preserving the cores of existing districts, compactness is one of the factors, and you know, and the issue about you know, those geographic areas, cities, that's a relevant factor as well. And as we talked about from day one, you got all these factors, but they're not equally weighted, you know, and they're relevant factors. And one commissioner may put more weight on this factor and another one may on the other, but they're all relevant. And, you know, you just gotta weigh them and all of them they mentioned, both, even though you agree on different maps, you're both right. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree,
Yeah, right.
I agree that, Max is right on
Factors.
So have the boundary lines like this been a point that's been considered in the past?
Yeah, I think this has been, these have been federal guidelines since probably the Help America Vote Act, was that, or maybe before that?
Oh,
Maybe
it
the
was
Voting Rights
before,
Act.
yeah,
Voting
nineteen
rights,
sixty-five, I think, the Voting
Okay.
Rights Act of
Yeah.
1965.
Now, that doesn't always mean that the lines are drawn to match these, because, I mean, I looked at some boundaries on some other states, and they were pretty ridiculous. And, I mean, you know, they gerrymandered a lot, in my opinion. So, I mean, I don't know if it was to advantage an incumbent, or if it was to cut somebody out of a district so they couldn't run again, or all those things can be potentially in the mix, I guess. But that's probably one of my concerns, is sticking with these, and as much as possible, what's the, I forget what the term is, but you know, using those as definitely a basis, and not necessarily any one in any particular order, but giving them all some balance when we decide. I gotta say though, that's the thing that I don't like about 2, is I feel like it doesn't follow the spirit of, we don't want these little squiggly lines. Whereas 7 is more in line with that, is my thought. And that's why when I see all these jutting lines, I'm just like, yeah. But I do feel like 7 has a better handle on, even though it does have some places where it fails dramatically, it at least sticks with the spirit of those factors.
Now, the commission doesn't have to approve a map in the sense that this is the final map. Like, you can say, this is the map we're bringing for public comment. After we've had those 2 meetings of public comment, then the commission can formally approve. And one of the things that, if for some reason the House and Senate lines were to change dramatically after the 29th, the commission may want to take a deep breath and say, are there any adjustments we should make to a map? So if you approve something today, I don't want us to have to, what if some public came in and said, hey, you missed some glaring thing on here that we just haven't seen?
We gotta know that.
Then it will be hard for us to go back and unapprove it. So I think your move today is to say which map to bring forward to the public, and not necessarily which map to approve today. So, and then Beth, for your comment, so when we did the maps back in 2011, one of the big differences that we went from 9 JP districts to 15. And so when those lines were drawn, it was a little bit easier for us because you're having to divvy up the county in a whole different way than you had before. So now we're trying to work with the 15 we had, and how do we make them match the populations now? So it's a bit of a different process
honestly, than what we did last year, because adding those 6 in kind of made it easier.
Well,
So,
plus the,
was it 13? No, that map that I have showed 9. You think it was 13?
Yep.
Still,
Well, you
we
thought that
added
at
more.
first.
I did too, I thought that first, but that
Yeah.
map I found from 2011 showed 9 on it. Maybe it's the old.
That may
map.
be in the 2011 map showing the 2000 boundary.
Maybe it was, I don't know, but I found that map, and I thought that too, that we went from 13 to 15, and I saw that map, and I was like, oh,
we're also
fine.
trying to match up some potential growth areas. And, you know, that's obviously, let's put a dart on the wall somewhere. We can't predict that.
Oh, I know. I guess my thought was, I mean, it's all Washington County.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, number 5 is the one specific to your question.
Right, the touching common borders.
Number, district
Preferable to minimize splitting political subdivisions, such as county, cities, voting precincts, and such.
Okay, so my question is, remind me when the clock starts on this. If we take this to public comment.
Okay, so we technically don't have a public comment period.
Right.
Okay, so this is just good policy to take the map to the public, for the public to view.
Consideration.
Exactly. The clock starts ticking, once the commission approves the map, then it's turned over to Becky's office. Becky prints the map in the newspaper, and from that publication day, there's a 30-day, and it's not a comment period, it's someone would take us to court and challenge our map. So it's a little bit different than what the state is doing, what they're calling their public comment period of 30 days for their map. Ours is different. So we're just incorporating the idea of giving the public opportunity to comment. That clock ticking is when someone can challenge us in court. It's not someone coming back and saying, I don't like this. It's like an actual challenge in court.
All right. So where are we?
Yeah.
15.
Move
Yeah.
the ball forward.
Yeah, I
One way or
agree.
the
I mean,
other.
we can beat this horse until it's dead. There is a
And
dead
after-
horse mountain road somewhere.
I was on that from.
Oh, do you really? Well, Becky, we're not gonna try to do that, okay? If we can move this ball forward, let's do it. So I would suggest we have a motion to move forward.
Sure, I'll make a motion to put map 2 forward for public comment.
Okay. Any second? No second.
Sure, I'll second.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I have to vote.
Right, no. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay. That one will not fly. So,
I'll make a motion that we move map 7 forward for public comment.
okay. Do I have a second? I don't know, as chairman, can I second?
I have no idea.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 3-person commission.
Yeah.
Motion, move, or second.
Okay, so I'm gonna second.
There's nothing different about you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna second,
Yeah.
and we're gonna, vote all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Here we
And
go, map
opposed?
7.
Okay, we don't
Unopposed.
need to be unanimous on this particular thing.
I can't find anything in the law that says you have to be unanimous on
Okay.
this.
It's only on district.
But once again, keep in mind,
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys are only moving this map
yes.
forward. You are not actually
Right.
approving this
Right.
map. You are just saying, this is the map we're gonna take to the public.
We can modify this map to look like 2 after 30 days.
That's true.
I mean, you guys, that's what I'm saying. You're not
Sure.
setting this like in
Not in
stone
concrete.
today.
Yeah.
Get something out there.
Right, and
Yeah.
then you guys can take the feedback. Map 2 is still posted online.
Yeah.
Their new revisions, you know, you guys can, I mean, so you're not, this is not the final decision on the map.
Yeah, okay.
And the
All right.
final decision doesn't need to be made unanimous either.
Oh, okay. Okay, so, the plan is to present map 7 for comment. And we will, name a day?
So we had already discussed, we're meeting on November the 22nd, and having the maps available in this room at 12:30 for the public to be able to come in and write written comments. I'll have a staff member here to take public comments too, if someone doesn't want to write anything. Certainly people can email or call our office as well. And then on November the 30th, we had a meeting scheduled. We can do the same thing and we'll have to do the ballot drop first at 9. That won't take but a second. And then after that, we can do public comment or whatever.
For 30 minutes or something?
That's up to the commission to decide how long the commission wants to take, public comment.
I kind of feel like if somebody's gonna come, they're gonna come.
They'll come early,
Yeah.
I think so too. But yeah, you do want to have an end time to it so that we're not here till 2 waiting for public to come up.
Exactly.
I would think that from 9 to 10, if our commission meeting is running over and someone comes in after 10, then, obviously,
We would.
could accommodate that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Does that work for y'all?
Sounds great.
Okay. All right, I'm getting rid of this map thing. We're getting worn out on it. Ballot review for the express vote update.
So these are just samples. Obviously, we don't have all the candidates filed. This is what, with our new software for the express vote and for the paper ballot, what the ballots and the express vote will look like. So it's, the express vote, obviously this is just a one-race election currently. So all you're gonna see on that screen is just the one race. But if we do eventually, when we move into like the general election and primary election, we'll be able to fit 2 columns of races on one screen. Once we start practicing with it, I'll bring you examples of what that will look like. But this is essentially what the screen looks like. So I didn't know if you had any thoughts or comments on it, but I did want you to be aware of what it will definitely.
Now, this text size and stuff, that is not gonna be on the screen.
It will be, it's the ADA part of it. So the text size and the display is the ADA part of it. So, but you can click on it, makes it bigger. And the display will make it either a black background or a different type background to make it easier to see.
Okay.
One thing about the text size, which was really nice to see, was for a voter, if they're looking at on the screen and there's like 8 races on that screen, if they're like, I don't like this, if they go to the text size and make it bigger, then it puts 1 race per screen. So it kind of then would give the voter the opportunity to be able to view the ballot that way.
That's great.
Yeah, so it is really nice. But yes, that text size and display, that's part of the ADA. So it will be on there. The other thing they took away was that awful exit button at the end. So voters will no longer print a blank ballot and then try and put it in the DS200 and wonder what happened. And in fact, if they don't vote any of their ballot and leave it all completely blank, it queries them and says, did you mean to vote a completely blank ballot? So the back end instructions are a little bit nicer too. So yes, so we're excited about these changes for the express vote. And then of course the paper ballot layout still looks relatively the same.
Are you able to contrast the state senate district?
That's just our printer. We can put a ballot in so you can see it. I think that's just our printer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think
because
it's...
that would, I think that would be a good way, a helpful way to isolate that from who the candidates are.
I think it is on the actual express vote screen. I think that's just,
not see, it's a different color. Our printer is just,
Oh,
but you're wanting
yeah,
this
I'm
one
thinking that
highlighted.
one.
We can go, yeah, we definitely can go back in and
Yeah.
look at that.
Or maybe even just in reverse.
Yeah,
So
we
that-
can flop them.
Okay,
Flip-flop them.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
sounds good. Your thoughts, gentlemen?
About just making the,
Anything on that?
no, I think
Green.
it looks great. It looks like, I mean,
Show us.
huge improvement.
Show us the text. Oh, you,
So, okay, so here is ballot, so I've made no selection, but I
Okay.
can go back
yeah.
and
Now do the
here's
text
the
size.
text size, and I can choose large text.
Oh, okay, so you don't have, 2 or 3 different. Ah.
Right.
Oh,
But what it
wow.
does on the ones where like you've got 2
Mhm.
columns of multiple
Mhm.
races, which is great for some people,
Yeah.
and it, will speed up everything, but if a voter is just like, man, that's just too confusing of a
Right.
screen, if they want to, they can make it to where it's one screen per race as they go through the ballot.
And do
And
the
then the
display.
display, you can do black and white, so if you're visually impaired, sometimes that's an easier ballot
yeah.
for someone to
Yeah.
read. So that's all part of the ADA, part of it.
Okay.
And then when the next voter puts their ballot in, it goes back
Oh, it will
to the
default.
standard.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
And so, for instance, I've not voted on anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and print my ballot. It's gonna ask me, are you sure you really want to print your ballot? And if you'll notice too, that it says print ballot.
Yeah.
It doesn't say exit
Oh, yeah,
down here
yeah.
anymore.
Good.
It tells you to print ballot. I'm gonna print a blank ballot, because yes, I do. And then it also tells you to, can't make any changes after this point. If you
Okay.
want to change anything on your ballot, you need to go back. Once you hit print, that's your ballot. Now, they can talk to a poll worker and spoil a ballot,
Right.
start the process over, but it gives them that extra warning of, once you print that. Then, one question we've gotten from voters, and I kind of knew this on the other express vote, but Debbie saw it today, and so I said, yeah, it was on there, we've not really talked about it. Voters are always like, well, how do I know that this is
Yes.
what it is? If I put my ballot back in this express vote, it tells me what my ballot says.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't change. So my vote, where it said no selection, says no selection here. If I put it back in, it shows me it says no selection.
Of course, we don't want people to do that just all the time.
No,
because
because then you're
they
like,
double
but,
time, but that's good.
when you get that question asked by voters, this is a way to kind of say, well, here, look, if I put it back in that exact
Sure.
machine, it's gonna show you.
Gives them an added sense of confidence
Right.
in the system.
Yep.
Good. Wow, I like that.
Yeah, good software update.
Woo! Okay, I have a question. Is this from a stamp?
Yes, this is, okay, we quickly did this. I didn't go in and make a PDF where I would have put a thing in.
okay, yeah.
Obviously, this ballot is not a ballot that we'll do, but yes, obviously, when we post these, we actually don't post this.
Right.
This is what we post, which obviously you can't make and bring to the polling place and pretend to put in the DS
Yeah,
200.
yeah.
So, yeah, we don't post those.
Okay.
But yeah.
I just was curious because I thought, why don't you just do stamp across it? We have these stamps now, is that what you're saying?
We do, but I just didn't have time when I
Yeah,
created the
yeah,
PDF
that's
to
fine.
just go in and do that, but yes.
All right, so are we approving this ballot, or no, we're
No,
not? because
you
we
are
don't
not.
yet have a,
What I didn't want to
Oh,
do,
really?
because on the 22nd, it's just going to be one thing
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
other.
good point.
I didn't want you guys to see this and be like, oh, I don't really like that. And then we go back to the drawing board.
yeah, that's not a good time to
So
do
I
it.
wanted you guys to look at it ahead of time.
Okay.
I will also tell you, we do have one Democratic candidate for the state Senate district. Okay. The way this election will work, as long as there is not another Democratic candidate that files to run, we will not treat this as a traditional primary.
Right.
So basically, it's going to be a special election just with the Republican candidates. The Democratic candidate will be declared the nominee to go forward to the general election. So for instance, on election day, if you are wanting to vote for the Democratic candidate on December the 14th, there will not be a ballot for that Democratic candidate. So just want to kind of let the public know that that's the way the process is going to be. I'll update our website once filing's over if that's the case, to put that information out there, but, yeah.
Okay, any more, observations on the ballot review, y'all?
Looks good.
Okay, all right, well, let's move on. Approval of Lincoln School District zone map. Is this really approval or just
It's your.
rubber stamp?
It's rubber stamp.
Okay.
It
We
says
probably
approval.
should say,
It says approval in the law.
oh, does it?
It does.
It does.
Oh, my gosh.
So, yes. We are still waiting for Greenland School District. They are meeting on the 18th, so I will have Greenland School District zone map on the 22nd. And then we have finished with all of our school districts.
Yay, until the next time.
Tell you they're going to 5 or did they?
She didn't say
Didn't say?
anything. I just sent them all emails last night to say, hey, Lincoln, hey, Greenland, I don't have your maps yet. And so she just emailed me back that they're voting. She didn't say why, which way.
Okay, so, item number 5, set meeting dates for the review of the JP district maps, and we've kind of done that already.
We have. I didn't know, if you guys hated these maps today, we would
Back to the drawing board.
We would need to figure out a different game plan, but.
Well, I think a big part of that is we will, if we get any public input, you know, we'll have to really consider what is said and how that influences our look at the map based on these guidelines. So, and, you know, we invite everybody from the public to show up. Maybe not everybody. We don't want to be overwhelmed.
We invite everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thinking, how many people are there on the 245,000? We don't need that many.
If we
Okay.
have that many, we've done something wrong.
If we even have a portion of that many.
Great problem to have.
Yeah, right. People actually paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay, upcoming meetings, November the 22nd and November the 30th. Y'all are good with those?
Good with them.
Okay, other business?
What's up with the city ward map? How does that process?
So,
Yeah, when does it happen?
there is no set date for when they have to do it, right, Jeff?
Wow.
Correct, but Fayetteville is the only one that's by ward election. And we'll be looking at all the cities to see if they need to redistrict. We know they do, and they know it, and they're working on it.
Gotcha.
The others will make a determination and advise the cities, in both counties, you know, if it needs to be done. Are they out of whack? And, yeah, they can, city councils have the authority, and they can do it whenever they determine that it's in the public's best interest. Could be after the census, could be after a special census, could be between this census and the next one, if there's a big annexation.
Anytime they want.
Exactly. Exactly.
Huh.
You got it on the nose.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
interesting.
Wow.
Somebody asked me about it and I didn't.
Yeah, 10 years ago, everybody, that needed to redistricted after the decennial census.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's been a few since then, like, that have come in and revised their wards after an annexation, like Prairie Grove did. They went down to the new highway. Elm Springs, changed their wards. I think it was a political thing about somebody wanting to run. But it's totally within the authority of the city council.
Gotcha. How is Fayetteville doing it? When are they doing it?
Their plan is they have to wait till after the Ward 2 vacancy election.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because the current ward is the ward that's eligible to vote. And if they have to have a runoff, that puts it past March 8th. So once that election is completed, they will start on, their ward map. They've already started, and they already have several maps that they're kind of looking at. But they've put everything on hold until after this election, and then they've worked with us to where we've created precincts, they're going to try to not split those precincts when they draw their ward lines, to create more
that's
precincts
great.
for us to look at.
Yeah, they're, because they're by ward, their ward boundaries will be a precinct line. May not necessarily be the case with anybody else that's got at-large elections.
Yeah,
So
okay.
those will just be residency
Yeah, okay.
zones, so to speak, not necessarily precinct lines.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That looks like that's off a ways,
Yeah, it sounds
is
like
there?
that.
Yeah, the municipal elections for, nobody in the two-county area has partisan elections, so they're not gonna have them on, in May. Everybody else will be, the municipal election will be conducted in next November.
Yeah, okay.
Then if there's a runoff, it's what, a month later? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Other business? Jared?
Yeah, the only other thing, I just wanted to say thank you
Never mind.
on behalf of, I know we all feel this way, but thank you, Jeff, and
Yes.
Northwest Regional Planning for drawing these maps and drawing all these versions of the maps and,
Being patient with us.
yeah, exactly. We
Well, I
appreciate
don't
your
know,
guys' help.
I don't know if his patience was there, but he was certainly accommodating.
He certainly has been.
Thank you. Christina Scarlett at our office.
Oh, yeah.
She's,
Give Christina our thanks.
I will, she's originally from Romania, and I had learned
Oh,
to do,
wow.
a few new Romanian words.
Wow.
Her work for you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope they were good ones.
Oh, I bet not. When I send her an email and I'm like, so we need this. I hated doing that. I was like, oh.
Oh,
We're glad
my
to help.
goodness. Oh, boy.
When you post this, it might be a good idea to leave the version on that's got the